When you are alone, always remember the Lord's promise. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Being raised in an orphan's home, never experiencing love from a parent, to a drug-addicted go-go dancer in a strip club, to born-again, award-winning gospel music artist, and being loved by millions as the star on the hit show Hee Haw, Lulu Roman has brought smiles and laughter to millions of people. She has also brought countless people to the Lord. This is her story. This is today's Nashville. This is faith. Lulu, thank you so much for sitting down with me this morning. What a pleasure it is to be in your home.
Thank you.
Tell me about this wall. There's so many memories and so many people.
It is, yeah. It's like you're almost at old home week all the time. With friends gathered around, you know.
Every day.
I love getting to see. Memories are great, but when you have little reminders of memories, that will call to mind things that will bring you a bit of joy that maybe you wouldn't get, you know, if they weren't there.
It's a good reminder. And you have them everywhere in your home. I love it. Everywhere you look, there's memories of your entire life. I want to go back a little bit, though, and let's go back where it all started. You have quite the story.
I do.
I read that you were in an orphanage.
I was placed in an orphanage when I was 2.5 years old. I remember the day. I remember what I had on. I remember where they took me. And I remember what was going on around me. I do.
Did your parents have to give you up, or?
I feel like they thought they did. My grandmother was the one who usually took care of everything. Her daughter was my mother, and I didn't really get, I guess, the backstory on some of this. But I know that she was a very powerful woman in a very big industry and didn't have much time for a child.
Now, where were you? What?
Dallas,
Dallas,
Texas.
okay.
Yeah, born and raised in Dallas. And at the age of 2.5 years old, I was placed into an orphan's home on September the 19th. I believe it was 48, maybe right at 1950. I found out later some of the succession of how things went. My mother, apparently, I never really got any kind of reasoning behind it, but I know that she was put into a mental institution when I was put into the orphan's home. There was a place, I want to say not quite 100 miles from Dallas, called Terrell, Texas. And it had the largest, I think, mental institution at that time that was around that people were aware of, and it was called Terrell. So when my mother was put into Terrell, I was put into, but it was called Buckner's Orphans Home then. They later changed it to Buckner Baptist Benevolences, I believe that's what it was. And I was 2.5 years old, and I stayed there until I graduated.
Graduate. What was it like? Did you ever see your parents again, or?
I never ever saw my father. I couldn't even get anybody to tell me who he was.
Okay.
My mother had, I don't know, 6 or 7 different names that she gave me over the years. Never last names, just first names.
Interesting.
So I never really knew who my father was. I mean, if I had something to go with all the things that are out there nowadays, I bet I could have tracked him down.
What was life like in the orphanage?
It was not very much fun, especially for me, because I was a little roly-poly from the very beginning. I was always the fat kid. I was. Lived my life with fatty 2x4, can't get through the kitchen door, to which I came up with a good answer for right away. Obviously, I did. You know, that was my response. And it pretty much carried with me through a good part of my life, it did.
So you graduated?
1964, W.W. Samuel High School. I think there were probably 20 or 30 of us that they sent out to public school. And we rode a big blue bus, oh Lord have mercy, a big blue bus that they named after me. They called it Big Bertha. My name's Bertha Louise.
Did you have a lot of friends there, or?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did have
I made a lot of
friends.
friends. I did. I was always in trouble, even from the time that I was a kid in the orphans' home. Apparently, I was very animated, very descriptive with my face. I got in trouble, I remember, as a kid they'd say something to me and I'd go, and I'd get, "Don't you buck those eyes at me." You know. And then as I went into the sentence out to public schools, got in a speech class, and this lovely lady said, "You are the most animated person I've ever seen in my whole life," to which I had no response because I didn't know what animated meant. And she said, "You need to be in my speech class." And I said, "Okay." So thus began the progression of learning what speech meant to, from just not only speaking, but acting, portraying, and pronouncing, and, you know, everything that went along with it. And so from the time I think I was in about the 9th grade, I was in all the speech and all the acting classes and stuff.
You know, isn't it amazing what God does? Takes you from an orphanage, and He's preparing you for what's to come.
Never had any idea.
We are going to talk about that, because you went from the orphanage to a lot of different places, to Hee Haw, to reach millions, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.